Hi, welcome to the Shadow Madonna channel. I'm Sara-lynn Marie, and today we're going to talk about feminine psyche shadow work, the truest way to get to the musable self. So, a few years ago, I did a course called Creative Residency, and I had one chapter, if you will. I had 1 week that was deeply focused on becoming the muse, on being educated on the muse. And it stuck with me for a really long time. And I saw this word sort of get like ping ponged around the feminine coaching space. And in some ways, it peeved me, and in other ways, I thought it was magnificent. I thought it was amazing. Um, what I can tell you is that shadow work will change your life. In the most simplest form possible, I can just tell you that when you do shadow work, the type of shadow work where you're looking into the deepest, darkest corners of your psyche, the work where most of the time you just go, oh my God, I'm way too terrified to go there. I'm way too terrified to go to that, like, cringy, embarrassing, shameful, like, you might not even know how to describe what's back there because it's so deep, dark down in that basement. But I'm telling you, the things that you find down there are going to be the things that allow you to feel the most confident, the most capable, the most competent, the sexiest you've ever felt. Because what are you going to do when someone comes to you and says XYZ and you already know XYZ about yourself? What if you're not in a constant state of terror of what might be showing up, or in a constant state of disarray or misunderstanding about yourself? What if you just get to know what lives within you and have fun while understanding and exploring all of these parts about yourself? So that's why today I really just I want to talk about why shadow work just is such a game changer, is such a way in which your life can be unrecognizable. And it's so easy to say this afterwards, after having done like years and years and years of shadow work in correlation with so many different modules, with so many different approaches, by myself, in connection. And then, of course, transferring it into a space where now it is me being with the women who are going into their shadows. And this work is just like not for the faint-hearted. And I say that with caution because not everyone is ready to go into the deep, darkest corners of themselves and grieve what maybe must be grieved, or be angry and rageful about the things that are living back there. My whole concept is like, it doesn't need to be so hard. It doesn't need to be so cathartic. It can be if it needs to be, but it also gets to be maybe fun. And that's kind of my whole thing, is like a lot of the time it's like, let's get some giggles in there, let's have some fun. And the first place that I'd like to just begin, I think almost every woman that I know, whether they're my client or not, uses at the moment AI as a hot wire to speak to their soul. And while I have reverence for that, I understand why you might be typing into ChatGPT going, "Oh my God, he just did this and this," or "Oh my God, I just saw this and this sign," or whatever it is. I understand the desire to find meaning, but I want to just I want to highlight this kind of nuance or like interesting aspect that maybe you've felt your conscience is already knocking at your door going like, hey, what are you doing? And maybe you're totally cool with it. Maybe you're totally fine with it. But what I want to highlight is like, it's so difficult to have like intense therapy sessions with Claude or with ChatGPT and feel better about what it is that you've come to a conclusion to if you don't integrate. And part of the reason why shadow work is so important and is what creates the muse within to come alive and for you to start to like literally see those muses out in your life is is because is because you start to really like grasp the integration of the shadow. What does that mean? It means the parts that are all the way down there in the basement, the parts that feel the most abandoned and rejected by you, those are the pieces that deserve the most amount of love from you. And that's really difficult because sometimes that requires you to have these different processes and these different ways of connecting and bringing her back in, bringing her closer to your somatic experience and your body and all of these things, right? And yes, that is part of it for sure. But if you're doing that and you're not in, contact with your soul, and it's not like talking to ChatGPT about your latest avoidant tendencies, like avoidant attachment in like your relationship or the anxiety you feel at work, like of course these are all important things. And yes, if you don't have the means, then yes, of course, go get yourself help. But after you know whatever it is that you know, and whatever it is that you found out through that conversation with AI, do you pause? Do you allow what it is that you just learned about yourself to actually land in your body? Do you go on a walk dedicated to what you just read from the chat about XYZ, about perhaps even this shadow? Because I'm just noticing that, especially like the new generation, y'all are so clever. Y'all are like so good at like emotionally understanding what's happening, but you don't have the tools to actually integrate what it is that has happened. And so this is where shadow work like really gets another dimension. When you've understood whatever it is that you've understood, whether that is also with your therapist, like no shade on therapy, but this can also happen in therapy, where it's like you're just talking all the time about what it is that has happened to you. And yes, that's important. Yes, there's validation needed. And you might be just doing the same thing with AI, right? This hot wire experience, it's like how do you expect that to work sustainably when you're not taking that time to integrate? So basically what I'm saying is when you find out these things about your shadow work, because most people that find my work, they've done a lot of work on themselves. They've probably done most of the work on themselves, all of the different kinds of ways that you can work on yourself underneath the sun. Like there's so many ways. They usually come to me and they are flabbergasted by the fact that actually the integration piece has been a pivotal aspect in which the lessons that they've learned haven't quite reached like the very bottom of their sit bones. So it's not like all up here of like, oh, okay, I just learned this, I just like typed this into Claude, or I just realized this, and it's like it's all up here. Like, yes, that's amazing, but unless you like bring that in, like for women especially, down to your womb, it's gonna be so hard for you to alchemize then those lessons into, a musable characteristic. And what do I mean by that is like when you look at a muse, when you look at a muse that is beautiful, that is like, oh my gosh, so inspiring. Like think about movie characters, think about book characters where you're like, oh, they're so, oh my gosh, they're amazing. Like I can't believe like this is real. Usually what they're carrying is an unapologetic way of just existing. Usually they're also carrying a bit of like a quirky ownership piece that maybe you wouldn't even necessarily call ownership, but you know, the unapologeticness is ownership for their quirks, their, you know, funky ways of being. Um, these are the ways in which we also fall in love with characters. And if we can apply that, like, metaphor, let's say, to you, then what happens? Those quirky things, they only happen because you experienced XYZ during your lifetime. They are what make you who you are. So rather than being, you know, ashamed or whatever else, angry that this is part of your experience, or that that's like a piece of you that keeps like hanging out in your basement, like bringing her back up, the one that, I don't know, like maybe you have a funky part that just like loves to be the center of attention, let's say, but like doesn't actually feel brave enough to fully be that. And if you constantly send her into the basement, like it's going to be really hard to be a musable character that jokes about herself wanting to be in the center of attention, which lands her in the center of attention. There's something endearing about that too, right? It's so hard to do if you keep like locking her up back there. So, you know, part of shadow work is bringing these different aspects of ourselves back home, which sounds so fucking broad, I know, and like sounds so repetitive of like, isn't that like what we're doing all the time? It's like, yeah, for sure, but to the degree to which you bring it in and integrate it, like again, like noticing how it moves down to your body, down to your sit bones, and then just sits there and stays a while. I also see this all the time too. It's like as soon as you've realized something and you've just chatted up with Claude, like the next thing you do is you immediately share it. You know, women talk about wanting to have love. Well, practice containment, honey. Like, how long can you just hold that truth of that you just learned about yourself? Again, no shade on AI, but like, how is your soul supposed to feel like really connected to you and trusting you and giving you more pieces so that you can really understand yourself and be like integral with yourself and feel really upright in your experience? How the fuck can a soul continue to give you that input if all you do is immediately take it, put it into AI, and then spit it out at every single coffee like that you go get with friends? And even if you do this like just with 2 or 3 friends that are your closest friends, I want you to question like, how long are you holding on to that knowledge about yourself? How long are you honoring what is happening in there, in that integration process, in that it goes all the way down from your eyes all the way down to your sit bones? How long does it sit there? So containment in this aspect, when you allow that integration to sit and stay, you have a much better chance of your soul, and your soul, by the way, is also your psyche, for your psyche to go, oh my god, true, last time I told her something, she actually kept it to herself for a while, so I'm gonna trust her with the next one. So like the next piece of information, or the next thing that's sitting back there that maybe you've been like kind of sensing your whole life but like weren't quite ready to feel or move through or integrate, but now your soul knows that you are. And these are all like micro examples. Like, I'm just giving you examples. You get to choose whatever it is that you want to do with that. If you want to use that as a quality that you want to invite into your life, as inspiration, as a musable quality, that is totally up to you. I'm just giving you input that you can, again, choose whatever it is that you want to do. So I think I think that might be it. It's not supposed to be like long and complex, actually. And a lot of the time, women get caught up in distractions. That's probably the other piece that I really want to speak on. is like when your shadows are really close. And what I mean by that is like they're starting to trust you more. So you're actually integrating, you're doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing. You're gonna probably be distracted. There's things gonna come into your life where you're probably going to feel distracted. And it's your job to look at the shadows that have creeped up the little basement stairs and see the little light that's coming out of the bottom of the basement door, and for you to maybe creak that door open a little bit and not constantly be running around the house doing a million other things for a million other people, or getting really looped into your own stories or your own narratives so that you don't actually end up reaching that door and even being able to open it. You're too busy being distracted by the shadows that actually are the answers to the confidence you've been yearning for your entire fucking life. You're too busy being distracted by the shadows that actually are the answers to the confidence you've been yearning for your entire fucking life. So, how are you allowing that distraction to happen? Who continues to distract you? And this really ties into like time and energy too. It's like, who's like, what? How are you allowing that to happen? How are you gauging with that? And like everything is relationships. That's all I know. It's like everything is relation, right? So, what is your relation to the energy, to the time, to the space? And what does that have to do with distraction? So, just allowing yourself to really like settle in. Again, dropping it from your throat, down your chest, down your spine, your ribs, down to your tailbone, your sit bones, and just letting it sit there. And maybe, just maybe, don't type into AI your latest finding or your latest question, and instead do the process of dropping into your sit bones and ask your soul and see what happens if maybe, just maybe, the answer was right there in front of you, within you, all along. That's it. Thanks so much. Hit the like and subscribe button.